On this episode of Cool Stuff, I'll find out what drives the world's fastest electric car. Put myself on the firing line in one of the most advanced armored passenger vehicles in the world.
This would have gone through the outside door.
And expose you to a rarely seen world thanks to one of the fastest, most sensitive digital cameras on the market. The world is full of cool stuff. I'm Steve Truitt.
How come I'm not feeling any heat?
And I want to know how it works. I'll be riding the leading edge of innovation, pulling apart today's hottest technologies, and presenting them in ways you've never imagined. Join me on a journey into the hidden world of cool stuff. Electric cars aren't known for their electrifying speed, but Ian Wright, the designer of this X1 prototype, is ready to face off against an Italian supercar. And I'm along for the ride.
Are you ready, Scott?
Yes, I am.
All right. Let's race.
Let's put our helmets on.
The X1 has a top speed of 112 miles per hour. The Lamborghini can reach 205.
Hey, no, not ready.
Know who's gonna win? Well, think again.
Oh, righty.
The X1 has no gearbox, no clutch, and a motor with just one moving part. You can fill the tank at any 220-volt wall socket, but on this tight track, it's just beaten one of the world's premier sports cars. So, what's the X1's secret? Well, for starters, its unusual engine. A typical internal combustion engine has more than 200 moving parts. The electric X1 has just 3 main components: batteries to supply the power, an inverter to control the current, and a motor to drive the wheels. The X1's lithium-ion batteries pack unbelievable power. 400 volts at 4,000 amps, about what you get from a small lightning bolt. Next, the inverter. This power unit converts DC into AC by switching the DC current on and off thousands of times a second. By varying the switching ratio, the inverter acts as the X1's transmission, controlling the motor's torque and speed. Finally, the X1's high-performance motor redlines at 14,000 RPM and generates around 300 horsepower. That's twice as much as your everyday family car, and the X1 is half the weight. But the real reason it can beat out a Lamborghini on a tight course is its ability to maintain optimum torque from the start of the race to the finish.
If you look at all the different parameters to optimize in race cars, the ability to accelerate out of the turns is the most important thing, and that's torque.
To see how this works, let's go to instant replay. Okay, hold it right there. After 50 feet, we've already got 2 car lengths on the Lamborghini. That's because the X1 is operating at a constant optimum torque, and the Lamborghini is not. In any 2-wheel drive car, you've hit maximum torque just before your wheels start slipping. But because traditional cars need to change gears to accelerate, it's impossible for them to maintain that perfect edge, particularly off the starting line.
And the trouble with a standing start with a gas engine is you've got to match the torque to what the wheels want, and that means you've got to slip the clutch or slip the wheels. So one way or another, you don't get precise control of the torque. But with electric motors, you do.
Ian has programmed the X1's computer to run at optimum torque whenever the car accelerates, on any track surface. Its tires can handle 1,500 foot-pounds of torque before they start slipping. so the computer keeps the tires just a fraction below that critical number at all times. And the X1 maintains its maximum acceleration at the start, on the straightaways, and around corners. So far, my stint in the passenger seat of Ian Wright's X1 electric car has been mind-blowing. And as I discovered, the electric motor has an added advantage. You can really see this with our thermal image camera. Gas-powered cars lose up to 80% of their energy through heat loss and friction. The X1 loses just 20%. In these thermal images, blue is cold, red is hot, and white is super hot. Even after a couple of laps pushing 100 miles per hour, the X1 is cooler than my hard-working film crew, and much cooler than the Lamborghini, especially around the engine compartment. And all that heat is wasted energy. Now the X1 faces a tougher challenge. We've already wiped the floor with a sports car, but can we beat a real race car? This is John Condren's NASCAR, 550 horsepower, 350 cubic inch V8.
Are you ready to race us?
Well, I'm willing to give it a little test. How's that?
A little test will be just fine. Do you think you can beat us here in this electric vehicle?
Well, I don't know. I've been watching you earlier today, and this thing is very quick.
Let's race. Start it up. Actually, we're starting, aren't we?
We are started.
Start it up. What does it feel like to beat a NASCAR?
Oh, that's cool. I didn't think we would.
Really? You didn't think so?
They're proper race cars, you know. It's a tube frame. It's on race tires.
Yeah.
It's 550 horsepower. So.
And you left it in the dust.
Off the line, that thing is really quick.
It's crazy.
There's no wheel spin. The constant velocity joints on that just keep spinning and spinning, and I'm just watching the whole back end of the car.
It's kind of neat watching us from behind, huh?
It is. It's very interesting.
Nice view.
No, it's not a nice view.
No, it's not a nice view.
Off the starting line, the NASCAR's performance is no better than the Lamborghini's. In the X1, we hit 60 miles an hour in 170 feet, about the width of a large intersection. Once again, optimum torque maintained by the onboard computer outruns pure muscle.
We've all got more power than we need. It's about controlling the torque.
Another decisive factor is the weight of the car. The NASCAR is nearly 3,000 pounds. Thanks to its 100-pound motor and 540-pound battery pack, the X1 weighs in at only 1,500. Half the weight to haul off the starting line. But, as I'm about to find out, the X1's advantages don't end at the racetrack.
If you're building gas engine cars, if you build a really fuel efficient one, it'll be slow. But that's not true for electric cars. I mean, this car does 0 to 60 in 3.0 seconds. It does 0 to 100 miles an hour in 6.8, and yet it does the equivalent of 170 miles per gallon in city driving.
That's around 3 times better than the best hybrid vehicles on the market. High-performing and energy efficient. I think this really could be the car of the future. It's like a scene from a Hollywood movie, except I'm really here, white-knuckling it in the passenger seat.
Okay, see that guy? He's coming after us.
The truth is, scenes like this play out in real life all over the world.
Just one. We got a red truck behind us.
As a diplomat, elected official, or wealthy businessman suddenly finds himself targeted by the bad guys.
He's chasing us. He's getting up right on our tail.
The chase is on, and the odds don't seem to be on our side.
We can't get rid of this guy.
But despite appearances, it's advantage us. You see, the car I'm sitting in is actually a four-wheeled fortress.
Let's drop the spikes. Oh, it worked!
Welcome to the world of maximum protection. I'm at the International Armoring Corporation, a high-tech chop shop where for about 100 grand, you can transform your everyday car into a real road warrior.
We take a regular car that would be in any showroom nationwide, completely disassemble the car, armor it, and put it back together so the client is protected, but nobody else knows that he's driving an armored car.
This standard SUV body is being bolstered with bulletproof steel.
Some of the steel that's already been put in the car, ballistic steel, is right here in the B-post area. You can also see that the firewall for this particular car is all taken care of as well. This takes about 3 days to put this together because all of the steel comes pre-cut.
When the guys are done, the vehicle will look just like a regular old SUV, but it will be twice as heavy and virtually impenetrable. At International Armoring, they modify cars not just to survive the odd stray bullet,
Oh, look out, this guy!
Right front.
but to withstand a serious armed assault. Your average car's galvanized steel may prevent rust, but it sure can't stop high-powered rifle fire from 30 feet.
The lead actually went all the way through because of the speed and velocity of that specific round. This would have gone through the outside door into the passenger compartment and killed or severely injured the occupant inside the car.
Oh, look out for this guy!
But it's a different story when the car's lined with ballistic steel. The bullet pierces the door's outer skin, but the quarter-inch ballistic steel below not only stops the bullet, it shatters it on impact.
No perforation whatsoever. Bullet totally disintegrating on impact. If you have a car made of this type of material, you're going to be very safe.
Yeah.
Safe enough to be able to take multiple hits on the piece of steel and still get out of the kill zone.
To understand how this works, I needed a crash course in steel. As I discovered, there are more than 3,000 grades of steel, but they all contain the same basic ingredients: iron and carbon. The more carbon, the harder the steel. But carbon also makes the steel more brittle. So what they do is carefully heat, cool, and reheat the steel. This process, called tempering, produces steel that's both strong and supple. The strengthened steel used in these armored cars has 20 times more carbon than the steel in normal cars. The factory also adds high levels of chromium, a very hard metal, and nickel, a very dense metal. It's a blend that's tough enough to stop an 1,800-mile-per-hour bullet.
Loaded.
Stopping a bullet with steel is one thing,
Safety off.
but I had to wonder, how do you stop it with glass? The answer? A transparent, tough-as-nails substance called polycarbonate resin thermoplastic.
Safety on.
In bulletproof windows, layers of this polycarbonate are sandwiched between panels of regular glass.
It's multi-layers of glass and polycarbonate and polyvinyl butyl, which is a material that actually glues the panels of the glass together.
And it's a thick sandwich. Typical car windshields are about 1/8 of an inch. This bulletproof glass is 2 inches thick.
Once that glass is adhered and put in an autoclave and baked, that's what gives it its clarity and its curvature. And then the safety on the inside is the polycarbonate to keep those rounds from going through.
Here's what happens when a bullet meets bulletproof glass. As it tears into the layers, the bullet's energy is transferred to the plastic. It runs out of momentum before it can make it through to the other side and into the car.
This is the inbound surface of the glass. All that energy was stopped by the multiple layers of glass, and then the inside occupants of the vehicle would have been protected by this polycarbonate layer on the inside of the glass panel.
But just in case you're dealing with a particularly pesky hitman, this amazing car has one more trick up its sleeve.
Oh, nice coming here.
Electrifying the car.
Electric handles wired to deliver a nasty 120-volt shock. Just like sticking your finger in a power socket. And so ends my cameo in this action film.
Go, 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 go. Sayonara, sucker.
But in real life, cars like these are saving people's lives all over the world. Much of our lives goes by in a blur. Slow things down, and there's a whole other world out there.
Three, two, one.
The bullet I've just fired is slicing through the air at 3,200 feet a second. But all I can see is a puff of smoke. The human eye simply can't process an image that moves at more than 60 frames per second. To catch the action, you've got to photograph at high speed. 1,000 times faster than a normal camera.
You're gonna go up high.
Yeah, well, I have to.
Okay.
For more help understanding high-speed photography, I've turned to Ken Hahn from NAC Image Technology.
Here's the cartridge. You can see it ejecting out. And look at that. See it floating there in midair as it's ejecting? Well, if you think about it, your normal video camera is 30 frames per second. Motion pictures are 24 frames per second. Here we're running at 1,000 frames per second and above.
A shot recorded at 1,000 frames a second, then played back at 30 frames a second, will be seen as slow motion. To capture the detail in these shots,
You can see your shoulder going back?
Yeah.
Ken is using NAC's latest digital high-speed camera, MemorCam K5. It shoots at more than 300 times the rate of normal human vision.
If people have a digital camera at home, this is just like a digital snapshot camera, except it's taking snapshots very, very fast.
Right.
Most digital cameras rely on a charged coupled device, or CCD, to convert light into electrons, which is fine for normal photography, but doesn't provide the light sensitivity you need at shutter speeds of more than 1,000 frames or more. Instead, high-speed cameras use an incredibly sensitive sensor called a CMOS, short for complementary metal oxide semiconductor. A normal video camera can only register 30 frames a second. This baby handles more than 2,000.
And we then store that data in RAM memory, such as what you'd have in your PC, on the camera.
MemorCam has 16 gigabytes of RAM memory. That's around 15 times more than an average home computer. But it needs every byte, because for each second of action the camera records, it uses up 1 gig of memory. It's a massive amount of RAM, but you've got to remember the MemorCam is extracting huge amounts of information in a very short time.
60 seconds of recording time would be hours of playback time.
Oh my gosh.
And the added advantage of digital technology is,
Yep, we're ready.
you're never gonna miss the shot. Unlike cameras that record on film, A digital camera can keep rolling indefinitely.
We can constantly overwrite that memory. We can constantly record, and when we hit the trigger, actually what we're doing is telling it to stop recording.
Press a button and you've just captured the last 10 seconds. High-speed photography, opening up a whole new world with a camera that's faster than a speeding bullet. Life in the fast lane. It can be a thrill a minute, a dose of danger, or that magic moment when a blurry world turns crystal clear. We'll see you next time on Cool Stuff.